So Ravens flock, Nate Wiggins sat down to talk on the Lounge podcast on the Ravens YouTube channel earlier today. I was interested to see it. We all know Nate Wiggins, at least so far, he's not really the type of guy that you see popping out a whole lot to speak to the public. So I was interested to hear him kind of reflect on a bunch of different things related to his journey up until this point. They obviously talked about a lot. One of the things that they talked about was his box, put him in a box celebration. I thought that was pretty interesting, just hearing, because it wasn't until they pointed it out where all of a sudden, like, that deja vu hit, and I had to go back and watch all of his highlights from the year to start noticing that he does that in the first place. So that's actually a pretty cool celebration. Like, and then also he talked about putting on 10 pounds of muscle. I was excited to hear that. I think he was fine he showed that he could still be physical and tough at the weight he was previously, but to put even more muscle on and more, because again, he was a very skinny guy. We all know that. That's the main reason, in his opinion, he fell in the draft. That's another thing that he mentioned, is he felt like he slipped in the draft due to his size. And he's not the skinniest cornerback we've ever seen. Like, I think, do people forget a few years ago, the Washington Commanders picked up that guy, I think his name was Emmanuel Forbes or something, and that dude weighed like maybe $140 soaking wet, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, I'm excited to see him come back another year stronger. He also mentioned how things started to really click for him once you got into week 6, week 7, which makes sense. That it felt like a lot of things for our defense started to kind of figure itself out more as we got later into the year, especially for Zach Orr. I'm hoping Zach Orr can take another step forward as well. But also, Nate mentioned how he felt like he dropped at least 5 or 6 interceptions last year, and he wished he could get those back. Of course, Nate only finished with about 1 pick, and it was that pick 6 towards the end of the season against the Browns. And that was one of his goals for his rookie season, to get a pick 6, so he did accomplish that. But as far as his drop picks, the only drop pick I can remember is that game against, I think it was the Buccaneers. And if I remember it correctly, that he went up for the ball at the same time as Marlon, and Marlon mossed him. So I don't know if that truly would count as a drop or not, but either way, I'm sure, because he's the competitor, I know he's thinking about every little thing that he felt like he did wrong and where he could have improved. And he also talked about what his goals were for the 2025 season. And one of the main things he said was he wants to get 10 plus turnovers. It doesn't matter if it's like interceptions or fumbles or a combination of both. He says he wants to force at least 10 turnovers in 2025. I was very excited to hear that. I think he's talented enough to do it. We'll see if how close he gets. Like, if he does that, I would be very excited. But even if he has that type of season, as impressive as that is, you guys already know that my main question is going to be, will he do it in January? We all know at this point that the defense in the playoffs has not been able to force turnovers much over the past 7-8 seasons. However, that can change, and I hope this postseason it does change. And I think someone as talented as Nate is somebody who we should look out for when it comes to somebody who can finally break that streak, because by the time the next playoffs start in 2026, it'll be 5+ years since we had our last turnover in the playoffs. I believe the last time, well, maybe it wasn't 5 years actually, because I think we forced a turnover against Cincinnati in 2022. So that's still, even 4 years, that's way too long. When you're talking about all these draft picks, these high-profile players, we need to make it happen. I think Nate is willing to make it happen, and I think he's talented enough to make it happen. I hope that is the case. We all saw how much he flashed in his rookie season. By the time we got to like week 4, week 5, at that point he already established himself as like a bona fide starter, somebody who could have a Pro Bowl and All-Pro future. There was a point in his rookie season where he had an open target percentage of 25%, which was tied with Sauce Gardner for the second lowest in the league, meaning that, wide receivers he's guarding will only open about 25% of the time. And also, when you look at a stat that was put out recently, was when it comes to cornerbacks in the league right now, Nate Wiggins had the fourth lowest QBR when targeted in the NFL. Marlon Humphrey also had the second, which was great to see. But the fact that Nate, as a rookie, already was in that sort of tier, that sort of company, like the other guys that were on that list for the lowest QBR allowed when targeted, it was guys like Derek Stingley, Pat Surtain, and buddy from the New Orleans Saints. I can't remember his name. I think it's like a Debo or something like that. But great company to be in. I'm excited about it. Let me know, do you think that Nate Wiggins will get to that 10 plus turnover mark in 2025? And if you don't, how close do you think he will get? Because I do think that we're going to see Nate produce at least 5 turnovers next year. I don't know about 10. That's a very ambitious number. Anything is possible, but we'll see. Let me know what your thoughts are, and let me know how excited are you to see Nate Wiggins in year 2.